morning, Nigeria. Good morning to our esteemed viewers. It's another amazing Monday morning, and we're just ready to kickstart your morning, bringing you updates on all that's happening in our social spaces, our political scene, and even on security right here in Nigeria and even globally. This is This Morning on independent television, where we get to bring you fresh perspectives on these stories. I'm Chukwufumnanya Digwe, one of your anchors here in our Benin Center. And just to remind you, we do this across 3 centers: Benin here, Lagos, and of course, Abuja. Right here in the studio, joining me in Benin to host this show, I have the beautiful and very knowledgeable Anu Oluwakbo Stephens. Good morning to you, Anu.
Good morning, Ify. How are you?
I'm great. How was your weekend, and how are you firing up?
My weekend was amazing. It was a beautiful celebration yesterday. Just to, reiterate that we had the Father's Day celebration yesterday. There's always this saying that we don't get to celebrate men enough, and then women get to have plenty of days to celebrate. So I feel like yesterday's celebration was top-notch, and shout out to all the amazing and responsible fathers out there.
Indeed, shout out to all the amazing and responsible fathers out there. I did tell you we have Lagos and Abuja studios also standing by. In Abuja, Joseph Kadiri is joining us. Happy Father's Day to you, Joseph. And also, we have Patricia Gabriels right there in Lagos. But first, you, Joseph, good morning and happy Father's Day, I'll say.
Well, thank you, I'll say, and to other fathers out there, we say a very, very beautiful celebration. You know what it is to be a father. You have to be responsible for your family, and of course, we all need your prayers. Fathers need the prayers of their family members, children, wives, to actually put the necessary things on the table, the bills of kids and the ones that are always unending coming from our wives. Those bills are unending. But what do? We are coping. Patricia, good morning to you. Good morning, Nigerians, and welcome to TMI. It promises to be very, very interesting, only if you stay with us. Just before we go to Lagos, it's a beautiful thing that the prices of crude oil is actually coming down, hovering between $75 and $78 per barrel. And this means that in the coming days, we hope to see that reflected in the pump price.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joseph, for that business clue there on what's happening in the petroleum sector right here in Nigeria. Patricia Gabriels, you look radiant. Good morning to you. How's Lagos this morning?
Good morning. Good morning, Joseph. Lagos, it's been raining all the days. Some parts of Lagos is flooded. We're struggling to, pass through them. Some parts, like on the island, some residents are locked up in homes. But anyway, before I go further, I want to say Happy Father's Day to Joseph and all the responsible men. Honestly, we have to say men, because some men are not responsible. Called father. I'm sorry, that's my opinion about some men. Anyway, from Lagos, we'll be looking at the just concluded Ekiti governorship election and what the lesson will be for the 2027 general elections. Chukwufumnanya.
Pat, for the insight there. Now, before I let you both go, something that's been at the forefront of a lot of conversations in a lot of social spaces and even online is the NDC's anti-defection oath. They've come out with an indemnity form to say, if you win an election under the party's umbrella, guess what? You're not cross-carpeting, you're not defecting, and if you do that, you happen to forfeit your seats, the position that you're holding under the NDC's umbrella. Before I get your insights in Lagos and Abuja, right here at home, Anu Oluwakbo Stephens, the NDC's anti-defection oath. What's public perception and what are the details about this?
Well, a lot of persons, especially here in Nigeria, got shocked last week Tuesday when we saw the news emanate from the NDC National, Convention Working Committee, where they say that they have come out to issue an oath of, realize an oath of allegiance, really, indemnity form, where persons going for elective positions in the 2027 general election would have to sign in that form. And what does that mean? It means that if you defect to another political party after winning on the platform of the NDC, you are going to vacate your seat. Now, a lot of persons have reacted to this and calling it, well, the particular person actually called it dubious, the way in which, the NDC is trying to perhaps lock in all of their, politicians moving forward. And it's raised the questions about freedom of association and if it's even constitutionally, holding right here in Nigeria. So I've talked about constitutionality, freedom of association, party discipline versus individual mandate, and enforceability. How are they going to enforce this is also another question. Now, mind you, I'm going to land on this note that the NDC is, I feel like it's the baby political party right here in Nigeria, because we saw how it did come on board to, towards the 2027 general election, as we're looking forward to that. And a lot of persons currently in that party, in one way or the other, defected from other political parties like the APC, the PDP, and I could go on, even the ADC. So why are they trying to, cook this up? Of course, we've seen a gale of defection so far in our political terrain in Nigeria, but this actually raises a lot of questions, and only, the party chieftains can provide a necessary answer to this.
All right, thank you so much, Anu, for your analysis there. Now, let's turn to Joseph Kadiri in Abuja. The NDC has come out with an anti-defection oath. What do you make of this?
Well, that oath, for me, is a welcome development, because we are going to have in future politicians that will actually be in politics with ideas, because every political party has its own ideas on how they intend to run the affairs of the government of the country. And so if NDC is saying, if you are part of us, you are really going to remain with us, especially if you win an elected position, especially if you win an elected position. That means the governor will remain as a governor. The day you jump, the political jumpology has been with us for a long time now, and it appears it's never going to come to an end. But what NDC is doing, if it sees the light of the day, it will reduce it to an extent. However, the Constitution of the country supersedes every other law, just as the Electoral Act supersedes parties' rules and regulation. If you have an Electoral Act that says you can move from one party to another when the party is in crisis, when there is an issue going on that seems there's no way out, you can actually move from that party to another. How do you reconcile this aspect of the Electoral Act and the oath or regulation of NDC? So to an extent, there is always going to be a way that will enable politicians to move whenever they want to move. And they do that until you go to court. And when someone tells you go to court, the person has already perfected plans to ensure that his decision is not reversed. So it's a good thing. I like it. I support it. But I do not think it will stand the test of time. So they should better look for another way to ensure that members of their party remain in the party.
All right, Joseph. Well, I feel like party defections, cross-carpeting is one thing that characterizes Nigeria's political sphere. We've seen that a whole lot. And, maybe this is a way for the NDC to begin curbing that menace. But, Patricia, are you of that light? Do you think so?
Well, for me, just like David, is a way to go. I mean, because this the cross carpeting, it's actually becoming too. It's not as said about, because it looks like if you don't win a political office in a particular party, you could cross carpet to another party. It means there's no ideology. You know, our politicians don't even have ideology on what they want to come and do when they win the offices. They just want to win and be there. So for me, the new oath from NDC is the way to go in Nigeria. But unfortunately, just like David said, it might not see the day light. I don't know. I hope it does, because that will curb the politicians from cross carpeting.
All right, defections, cross-carpeting, and all of that. It's really something. I know you seem to have something to contribute.
Absolutely. I would also just love to add my own 2 cents by saying even the chairman of the NDC, Timmy Perez-Silva, was once one of the big chieftains in the People's Democratic Party.
Okay.
Now, why did he leave? He had to leave because of the political turmoil and shenanigans they have been experiencing so far in the PDP, and went ahead to form his own political parties. So them having this, would it see the light of the day is another big question, but I don't think it's really the way to go. Politicians and a lot of persons have the right, the freedom of, movement to go to whatever party that deems fit for them. We'll see that happen over time. I feel like there's no politician in Nigeria who hasn't defected to one party or another from top to bottom. I think it's just the Nigeria political, system that we get to see every time.
A lot of public opinions have translated what happened with the Labour Party in the 2023 elections, having Peter Obi as the flag bearer, and a lot of people now, vying for positions under that umbrella, and at the end of the day just moving away from the party or vying for positions under that umbrella, because they know that people are going to throw their weight behind the party in any election that is put forward because of the name Peter Obi. Do you think that this is one of the motives, that the NDC is trying to curtail?
Yes, it is, but then again, you just cannot change how, the system has been operating since 1993, if I'm to put it that way, in just a moment. So then again, enforceability is also another big question. How would they even be able to enforce it is the big question. So we're looking forward to it. I think the NDC should even start with winning the elective seats in Nigeria first. Right, before we can start talking about trying to, nip all of the politicians in the NDC and not moving to another political party.
I'll take a leaf from what you said there. I feel like they should be putting themselves together for 2027 instead of distracting themselves with all of these anti-defection oath shenanigans.
Absolutely, because I feel like it's a bit of overconfidence, if you ask me, because you haven't even won any elective seats, and then you're talking about trying to, ensure that persons do not defect to another party. So let them start from that place first, and then we'll move over to, other basic conversation.
I'll say you're right. Anyway, you're still tuned into This Morning on ITV. We have a lot more to unpack. Up next is our newspaper review segment, where we bring you the national dailies, the headlines of the national dailies, and also analysis that are shaping them. Don't go away.
Onwa is rich in culture and traditions. The people are a mixture of traditional worshippers, Muslims and Christians. Onwa is located at the northern part of Edo State. It consists of 2 local government areas, that is Onwa West and Onwa East. It has a total number of 13 clans and 21 political wards, according to National Population Commission 2006 census. The population of Onwa people is put together at 251,686. The people love tradition and culture. Historically, the people ancestors in deep quest to hand down on their future children.
On the ITV network, and we're joined in the studio right here in Benin by Dr. Sonny Duke Okosun. Good morning to you. How was your weekend?
Awesome, and it's always a delight to be on the show with you guys. I mean, looking at the weekend specifically is about the Ekiti State governorship election, all the shenanigans that we have in our political space that keep making us to ask the question, when will we get there? Especially when you look at it from the perspective of vote buying, and there's something quite interesting that played out. Voters' cards that were not picked up were deployed for that election. You find party agents who bring these cards and then hand them over to unsuspecting members of the public. Well, should we even call them unsuspecting members of the public? I think those who got involved knew exactly what they were doing. They give them the voter's card, give them 20,000 naira allegedly, and then they go and vote. And you look at the total number of registered voters in that election, about 1 million. And then you look at the number of actual votes, maybe around a little under 400,000 or thereabout. So when you look at that, you know, it brings to question the issue of voter apathy. It brings to question the issue of the marginal difference between actual number of registered voters and then the actual people that come out to vote. I heard somebody say something this morning on the sister radio station that when you don't come out to vote in an election, whoever emerges for that duration of the tenure, 4 years, whether the person is doing well or not, you are part of the process, right? Because you didn't seize that opportunity to make a bold statement on how you want the direction of the state to go or the direction of the country to go. So that seems to be the challenge that we have. And then you have the NDC coming out with the anti-defection oath. I think that's a good one, because that was the reason why the Labour Party died a natural death. Yeah, because the Labour Party was very strong, was popular, was a movement, and people were buying into it. But, as someone said, those who got elected under the platform of the Labour Party, they didn't even get to Okene before they threw their party cards away and moved into the ruling party. So today, what do we have? That party is gone. So if NDC is able to leverage on those mistakes to correct them, I think that's something commendable.
All right, I think we'll look more into that as the show progresses, but you forgot something.
Yeah.
And I think I'll join my voice with Anu's voice when I say Happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, big kudos to you and every responsible father out there.
Thank you. So there are responsible ones and there are irresponsible ones.
Deadbeats.
Deadbeats, that's the word. Anyway, that's on a lighter note. And now we'll move on to the next segment of this program, which happens to be the newspaper review segment. We'll take a look at the headlines of our national dailies now, with our first point of call being First Daily. A major headline there says Serap gives Akpabio Abbas 7 days to refund 110 billion naira. Another headline there, which is the major headline on that paper, says Nigeria bleeds, 842 killed, 279 abducted in 1 month. Also on First Daily, it headlines Yaga Africa estimates Ekiti governorship poll turnouts below 39%. Another headline there, troops arrest 3 female ISWAP collaborators in Borno State. I want us to look a little bit at these stories on the headlines before we move on to the next paper. Dr. Sonny Duke.
Yeah, I mean, the Young Africa, summed up the outcome of that is the state governorship election in terms of the participation of the electorate below 37% or 39% or thereabout. That's definitely very poor. And I think the major talking point there is on the insecurity situation in the country, number of people killed, number of people, injured and all of that. To be honest with you, this challenge is going to continue for a long time to come. It's not going to stop anytime soon, except the authorities in charge do the needful. You don't pamper criminals. You don't give them tea and bread. You don't engagement in some of these things that we're doing. You've got to be decisive. I think I heard the president of one of these South American countries, El Salvador or so, a few days ago on a video that what he did was to go frontal. In Mexico, where the cartels have been running rampage, the government went frontal. And if you go down the history lane, you'll find instances where even countries like the United States were, at its lowest ebb with some of this criminal gang taking toll on the country. The country leadership went frontal and very, very decisive. That's the only language criminals understand. Look at what happened in Edo State. That's why we must commend the Edo State governor, Senator Monday Okpebholo. Under his leadership, a few days ago, we saw a woman that was kidnapped, right? With less than 24 hours or 48 hours, those guys were arrested. And that's some of the benefit of social media. From what is available, the vehicle that was used was splashed all over social media. And then the security agents now looked out for, this vehicle. And before you know what's happening, one person was arrested. And before you know it, the other 2 or 3 were also picked up. That's leadership. And the governor has come out to say, look, we're expecting the Under Commissioner for Public Safety to be here to speak to us on some of the action being taken to drive home this one. So let's hope when it comes, we can talk more about that.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Now we turn our attention over to the Daily Sun newspaper, leading with Orirere abduction. It says, hope rises for abducted pupils, teachers. Subrider says, security operatives encircle forest, step up rescue efforts. Abdul Salami mobilizes Nigerians against terrorism. Details on this on page 6 of the Daily Sun this morning. And also, flood windstorm destroys shops, farmlands in Ebonyi on page 29. Dr. Sonny Duke Okosu, Oriri abduction has entered day 37, if I'm not mistaken, and we're still talking about hope, renewed hope. Yeah,
because that kind of action is different from what happened in Edo State. The action in Edo State, or the kidnapping in Edo State, gang of robbers who are just trying to see how they can build, a business line, a criminal business line. Because the guy who owns the Lexus that was used was also kidnapped, and then he paid ransom.
Oh.
Yeah, and then they told him that they are going to make his vehicle available within the next few days. The guy said that happened almost about 2 months ago. And then the kidnappers went ahead and changed the color of that Lexus. That Lexus originally wasn't red, it was gray. But the guy said immediately he saw that video on social media, he knew that was his vehicle. And then after that, then they went after another lady, all right? But you saw how that was nipped in the bud. But this other part is ideologically driven. Is ideologically driven. And that's because these are people who are sold out to their own religion, and they use it as a platform to drive their ideology, to drive their agenda. They went after those children, hoping they can use them as a bait to get their people released. Unfortunately, they've been encircled in a forest. No exit point, because all the exit points, according to Governor Makinde, they've all been blocked. Attempts to rescue those children in time past was met with heavy gunfire. We heard some soldiers who lost their lives. So that's why it's a very, very dicey situation. But I think with more pressure and engagement like they are doing, those children and the teachers will be released ultimately. We look forward to that.
Absolutely.
We do. Thank you so much, Dr. Sonny Duke. Now for our final point of call in the newspaper review segments, we'll look at This Day newspaper. This Day newspaper headlines on the foreign scene. Trump says Starmer will resign as UK Prime Minister considers future. Also on this day, Presidency lists Tinubu's milestones, says Federation revenue rose from 12 trillion naira to 21 trillion naira. Also on this day, Tinubu, Oyebanji's re-election, clear votes of confidence in continuity, stability and development. Well, those are the headlines on This Day newspaper. Anything to add?
I couldn't have expected Mr. President to say anything less, or to praise the governor and also commend INEC, as it were. And the unfortunate thing is that in our electoral process, people don't really participate as they should to ensure that the ideal person who can make a change comes on board. And then, of course, you have this structure and system where all of this goes on unabated, and you just wonder when all of this is going to change. I don't see that happening. In fact, the 2027 election, what we're saying now is a script which they started putting out there from their primaries. Don't forget that it's not just the Ekiti State governorship election that took place last weekend. There were by-elections. Right. And in all the by-elections, the ruling party won. And I think in one of the states, I can't remember where, Anambra State or so, where a sitting House of Assembly, or a sitting legislator, let me put it that way, his younger brother was involved in violence where someone was allegedly killed. I mean, soldiers arrested them and all of that. That's the level of desperation that we have seen in this country. And so when things go in this direction, it gives you an opportunity to make an extrapolation on what's going to happen in 2027.
Thank you, Dr. Sonny Duke. Well, it's still TMI on independent television. Up next is our discussion segment, which is the most consequential aspect of this program. We'll be discussing Ekiti 2026, the conduct, the outcomes, and what it foretells for the 2027 elections. To spearhead this conversation is Dr. Sonny Duke Okosun. A lot to unpack there. Don't go away.
ITV, certainly the best.
In a rare display of botanical brilliance, the palm tree defied natural norms, sprouting multiple branches that bear fruits. This rare occurrence has become a wonder to many, as experts are calling it a one-in-a-million phenomenon. Could this multiple-headed marvel hold secret to agricultural breakthroughs, or is it simply a freak accident of nature? An agronomist with Nigeria Institute for Oil Palm Research, NIFOR Benin. The strange palm tree also raises issues of a blend of science with human interest and cultural significance for maximum impact.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program Healthy Living. What is the kidney?
The kidney is an excretory organ in the body, which is for metabolism.
Tuberculosis affects many organs in the body, but the common ones it usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits.
It is curable, but the cure is a long-term thing.
If you eat well and avoid those risk factors that will make your immunity to be down, then the risk of contracting tuberculosis will be reduced.
If you're healthy, then you're wealthy.
The Ugewe is the final ceremony of the series of festivals. It is one of peace and lightheartedness, following the more solemn of the ritual year. Ugewe is the festival of the Ewe leaves, a symbol of good luck and joy. It is the most popular of all that heralds the dawn of a Benin New Year, new vow, newness of life and freshness of life, and a new hope for the future. In the evening, the Ewe leaves are presented to the Oba of Benin in grand style in a colorful ceremony. The Ihogbe society, amidst singing and dancing, bring the sacred leaves that symbolize good luck, blessings, peace, and prosperity. Each of the senior members of the Ihogbe proceeds to give the sacred leaves directly to the Oba of Benin, and others put theirs at his feet.
Many thanks again for joining us on the program TMI on the ITV network. Of course, yesterday, Abiodun Yebanji, the governor of Ekiti State, was re-elected for a second term. And according to the returning officer of the election, Professor Adenike Oladichi, Vice Chancellor of Federal University of Technology, announced the result in the as of yesterday, declaring Oyebanji the winner with a total of 319,222 votes to defeat his closest rivals in the contest conducted across 16 local government areas. Of course, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Oluwole Oluyede, scored 40,543 votes, while Dare Brejide of the African Democratic Congress polled 12,872 votes. There were over 10 candidates and political parties that participated in Saturday's Ekiti State governorship election, but we just highlighted the top three: APC, PDP, and of course ADC. And to join us to look at this outcome, the outcome of the election, the conduct and projections for 2027, let me welcome our guest reviewer, Dr. Daniel Ekaraifo, an associate professor of mass communication. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Fares Okberi, Honorable Fares Okberi, is now a chieftain of the ADC. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Asosna Moegbe is expected to be here. We hope he gets here on time for us to review all that transpired in Saturday's election. Let me start with you, Fares. The results went in the direction most people expected, because according to some, Oyembaji did well and it deserves a second term, and that's what this result obviously has shown. But it's clear that in a state where you have over 1 million registered voters, or about 1 million registered voters, and you look at the total number of people that produced the governor, there are questions to ask about Nigerians' attitude towards election, because this has become a recurring decimal.
Well, it's not just about Nigerians' attitude towards elections. It's the credibility of the process that determines whether people want to get involved. I mean, it's not about these elections, it's about the elections before. Even the elections of 2020, the last elections, and coming from maybe like since 1999, Nigerians have consistently lost interest in coming out to vote. I'm not sure that we've had in the last 5 election cycles that we've had maybe 50% turnout of elections. In 2023, it was so bad that it was around 20-something%. So that tells you that Nigerians are feeling so disenfranchised from the process. And the reason is not far-fetched. The reason is because the umpire, INEC, has continued to conduct very shameful sham of what they call elections. You know, look at the Ekiti elections. I mean, it's still the same story of vote buying, intimidation, false results announcements, inducement of voters, talks, snatching ballot boxes. You know, it goes to some areas where people are not allowed to vote. And when people see these things every time, they lose interest in the process. And that's why we are where we are today. Because when you have an electoral system that the people's voice is not heard through the ballots, it puts you in a place where your country will continue to go down, because you are not able to elect the right people that will bring change. Those in government do not feel that they can be removed from government because the electoral umpire has taken side, and that's what we are saying today. It will take Nigerians to stand up and say our voices must be heard before we have this system that will change. Because right now we have an INEC that has colluded with the APC to continue to manufacture very shameful and disgraceful results everywhere they conduct elections. Because people are celebrating on social media now, they got 15,000 naira each from the APC for their votes, and these are done. It's not like they do it before they come to the field. They do it right in the full glare of the security agencies, right in the full glare of INEC. And when you have this kind of system, this kind of a system, and you see produce result, it means that we have to embrace a complete system reset to have an electoral body that can give us a truly independent electoral body that can give us results that Nigerians can be proud of. In that way, Nigerians start to come out.
All right. Yaga Africa has specifically said the turnout for this election is under 39%. Isn't that something we should worry about going into 2027?
Building on what Mr. Abi Honorable Okpere has said, you are not going to get anything different. I doubt even at the national level for the 2027 elections, we are going to get up to 30%. Don't forget that the poverty level is very high now. Insecurity is biting hard on us as a people. And the level of frustration with the system is very high. When you bring all this together, it's difficult for you to ask somebody to come and vote for somebody who will change his course when he's thinking of how to survive or what to eat. Generally, we're at a point in our national life where we need to sit and ask ourselves questions. Whether those in the political class, those in the religious class, those who are just ordinary citizens. If we don't sit down to really talk and say, come, how did we get to this level? We need to redirect our thinking. The situation will get worse, and we'll get to a level where fear will become the order of the day. So the key to reviving people to vote in election, beyond voter education, publicity announcement that people should come out and vote, people must have faith in the system. And the basis of having faith in the system is that those who have been given the responsibility of governance, they need to come back to their responsibility. What you find now is that people don't know what it means to be responsible in leadership position. Yes, you can see the dress talk, people come out, media, cameramen are all over the place, speeches are made, but after the speeches, nothing is done. So, if you build on our trajectory in terms of our democratic experience from 1999 to date, at the point you ask yourself, are we making progress or we are going backward? So that is the simple reason why people don't show interest. One of the other things you also notice about our elections is that if it is your tribal man that is on the ballot, the level of mobilization from his tribesmen will be very high. But if it's from somebody from another tribe, you say, well, it's their own, it's not our elections. That is the attitude you find with the electorates in Nigeria. So if Yaga gives you the data that only 37%, it tells you that even Ekiti tried to have 37% turnout in a governorship election. I don't think that of Edo was up to 39%. I think around 31% or so. So these are the issues. People don't have interest in the electoral process because the managers of the system are not living up to expectations.
The issue of voter apathy has continued to be a recurring decimal. You look at the number of voters, I mean, then you compare it with the number of people who actually registered for the election, and the margin is getting wider by the day. But in this particular election, I saw a video, even though I wasn't able to independently verify some of those videos, where people were giving voters' cards to people to vote. And there's also, you know, a story making the round how some card-carrying members of the ruling party were seen with INEC observers' vests. I mean, that's in the public space. I want to get a reaction to that.
You know, that's what I said before. I said we have a system where the independent National Electoral Body, who is supposed to be truly independent, who is supposed to represent a truly independent system from the government, has already taken side with the APC. That's why we have come to this very disgraceful level where you see members of the ruling party putting on observer tags, observer tags, I mean observer vest, you know, who, I mean, you can have observers in the elections, but they are not supposed to be members of any of the political parties. The political party can have their observers and their agents, but you having observer vests that are meant for independent observers, they are being worn by the APC members, shows that INEC is not a branch of the APC. That is fact. And we've seen a decline in the quality of elections. Not that we've had very great elections in Nigeria, but I mean, we've seen a very drastic decline under this current administration, because the President Tinubu, you know, because of his very poor records, because he has not done well as a president. He's afraid of losing 2027, and in response to that, he has weakened the electoral system so that he can take advantage. If you see the Electoral Act that was passed, he has passed that Electoral Act in less than 24 hours. He passed the Electoral Act just to be able to circumvent the process. He has put in loopholes that can be used. It's so bad that you will have something like you cannot go to court to challenge somebody who gives INEC false documents. You can't even go to court to challenge that person's victory anymore. So, I mean, that's just one of the many very shameful clauses that they've added into the new Electoral Act. All of it is designed to favor a president that has done nothing but plunge Nigerians into mass poverty. Now, Buhari was not, if you go back to the previous administration, Buhari was not a saint to say, but in terms of elections, in terms of having something close to a honest election, you can say that Buhari, you can point to elections that was conducted under Buhari that were still elections that you can say, okay, these elections were good. For example, in Edo 2020, you can say, I mean, the election was good. Buhari was in APC, PDP won the state. It was a clear election. Even the loser, then Pastor Sageze Abu, did not challenge the election itself. He challenged the certificate of the then sitting governor. That's to tell you how clean the election was. Then you can also go back to the election that was conducted in Semedo in 2012 under President Goodluck Jonathan, whereby Adams Oshomole got his re-election. It was a very clean election. A very clean election. It's not that we've had 100% perfect election, but what we are saying under President Tinubu is nothing but a sham. And it is so bad because this is a president who was seen, I mean, if he was not president there, or if he has not entered government, they would have said, oh, if he was, this is somebody who would have brought democratic changes to the country because of his days in the democratic struggle. But to now see that under his watch, democracy is at the verge of collapsing in Nigeria because we are gradually slipping into a one-party state. And the good thing about that one, whether good or bad to it, is that those who have been supporting it in the National Assembly, in the state assemblies, in the APC, in every party, many of them now they've received their own baptism of fire through the APC primaries that was conducted because there were no primaries. Till today, the APC is unable to even release the list of senatorial candidates in many of the states because of what they call a very shameful sham that they call primaries. And all of it is still connected to why we have people not interested in coming out to participate in the process anymore. And we'll continue to have it until we have a system that continually purifies the system for us so that Nigerians can be interested again.
All right, Prof. Yeah, I know you're eager to say something, but I'm seeing the videos where we're seeing a lot of security presence, and then in broad daylight, a man carries a stack of voters' cards, and he distributes those cards, you know, not to one person, not to two persons, hundreds of people, you know, sitting down, and then they move to go and vote. In the daylight, broad daylight, everybody's watching.
Well, I will start by saying Okpere should not label the APC as only the aggressor in matters of this nature. All parties are involved. You see, our experience as a nation is that those who are not in power can sit and condemn others. The reality is that there is always a struggle for these uncollected cards among politicians and their relationship with INEC officials. These cards were in INEC vote. Somebody approached an INEC official and said, can we have card for so place? The INEC official released these cards. Secondly, when they actually get to the polling unit, our expectation is that because you are not the owner of the card, when you put your fingerprint, your biometrics are supposed to come out. In this case, the INEC officials, those conducting the election on the field, they would have been briefed that as far as the person has a card, whether the fingerprints are out or not,
just
allow the person to vote. There is a criminality in almost every one of us, because the picture that is the president or the senator is not the one on the feed who ought to say, this card is not yours. These are young men who understand what it means to have a future for themselves. But they refuse to make a name for themselves because they have been briefed that any card they bring, accept it. And the young man since that calculating, and after the election I will get 100,000. I will allow them vote. It's not my father's business. Is it the president that is asking such people to do that? I will not want us to lay the blame on the doorstep of the president. It's a problem with all of us about values. We don't want to do what is right. It's a fundamental issue about this country. You are an INEC official given the responsibility of protecting cards so that any day individuals need their cards, they can approach you and get this card. But the politician offers you some amount of money, you give the card to the individual. When the actual owner will come to look for this card, they will tell you, maybe they have not printed it. We are still searching. You keep searching and searching, you will not find the card because somebody has sold it to a politician. After that election, the politician will go back and collect the cards from the individuals and keep them for the next election, because that is his own negotiating power with his party structure, that I delivered 3,000 votes, 4,000 votes. What did you bring to the table? As if he indeed mobilized the people. These are the things they do. Politicians cannot shy away from this. Those who understand how the game is played will know that this is a fact. But the question is, the politician that approached the INEC official, how much was he or she offered that prompted him or her to offer those number of cards to the politician? You still go back to the issue about value. Yeah, I will give you 500,000. I will give you 300,000. Okay, each card I will give you 10,000. He calculates the number of cards, and that is big money for him or her. That is the reason why they are doing all of that. So, the emphasis should be on how did we get to this level where people see what is right, they turn their eyes the other way and do the wrong thing, expecting this society to change. Whether you have a state as president, if this is still common with INEC officials, policemen, security agencies, the same story will continue to be told about the way we conduct elections, about our national life. It's about values. Look at the level of security presence. I saw some videos where in some areas, the voters chased the EFCC officials that came to curb the issue of vote buying, because the poor people felt, this is the opportunity we have to collect the money. They are telling us that they should not do vote buying. So I want you to look at that perspective. Is it the government that is saying, chase the EFCC away?
The people decided to do that.
The people decided to do that
so that they can get their own share.
So that they can get their own share of the money. It is a cycle. So for me, the challenge is about our loss in values. People don't know what it means to say no. I will not do this. I want to do what is right. You recall the other election that brought the current governor of that state, where the INEC, the returning officer, was under pressure to announce a contrary party. And the woman said, no, I will not do that. She kept saying, she insisted, she stood her ground, even under intense pressure. Those are the type of people that you can put in position and expect the type of change he is advocating for. If it's this still open affair, everybody is recruited, nothing is going to change. I'll just take a little aside. When you see young men say they want to join a Edo State security force or vigilante force or Edo State security network, some of them already have the mentality that they want to go to road and be collecting a budget, not because they want to really serve. It's the same attitude. People just feel every avenue you have, you must make money, not about service. That's the problem with the country. So the way out of this, maybe when you have leaders who are selfless, is when the right value orientation will come back to us. This same attitude you have with the set of people you have in leadership, where people don't care, our sense of humanity is being lost. You cannot preach value. You cannot say people should not collect money when the poverty level is high. When people are just saying, this is the opportunity they have. For some people, it's every election they become millionaires. They wait for the next election and be strategizing, fraternizing with the INEC officials on how to get these same cards for their benefit. Who is going to do the change?
If you just join us, stay TMI on the ITV network, looking at the just concluded Ekiti State governorship election, the conduct, and of course the outcome, and then projections for 2027. Looking at the other side, apart from the result that has been announced by INEC, all the issues we've always known as irregularities with the electoral process, they are still very much there. You're talking about vote buying, voters inducement, violence in snatching of ballot boxes, and all of that is still very much there. So what does the future holds for us? Just like Dr. Dan said a while ago, is a big question, especially as we move towards 2027, where a major storm is brewing. The possibility of political parties who are major contenders for 2027 being deregistered. Last week, Monday, we have a judgment or an order of the Federal High Court in Abuja declaring the deregistration of some political parties, the ADC, the Action People's Alliance, APA, then you have the Action Alliance, and then you have the Zenith Labour Party. But the appeal court has since given a stay of execution. But if you're familiar with our judiciary and our political development, you know that this may just go on and on and on. Let's quickly talk about that, Fares Okberi. Deregistration of political parties. We've gotten to the stage of a state of execution, but that's not the end of the road. This may likely go on to the Supreme Court. Quickly.
Yes, it forms part of the rot in the system that we're talking about, because, I mean, the judiciary, with all due respect to the judiciary in Nigeria, we've seen a consistent decline in the quality of judgments that come out from the judiciary in the last few years. And it shows that, you know, political and vested interests have completely hijacked the Nigerian judicial system. And that's why we see all these kind of laughable judgments that come out that make absolutely no sense. I mean, the one that deregisters the parties is even more embarrassing to us as a nation, because there's been a judgment on that matter that asks the judge not to even go ahead with that judgment, and as usual, with all the arrogance within the system, the judge chooses to ignore it and go ahead to pronounce a judgment that everybody sees as something that is out of the playbook of the APC. And you see, one thing that we don't fail to understand is that most of the countries that have failed, if you go to Somalia and some other countries that failed, and back then the Yugoslavia and all of that, you see that it is this similar path that we are treading today, that those countries tread. For example, in Somalia, Somalia was a tribal nation before, but gradually they allowed corruption, they allowed the weakening of the judiciary and all of that to creep into the country, and before you know it, it was a failed state. Insecurity engulfed the country, and today Somalia is still a failed state. Nigeria, we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder. The countries with the strongest judiciary in the world today are the countries that are thriving. The countries that have the strongest judiciary are those thriving today. You must fix your judiciary. You must have people believe that they can have justice. Okay. Because in a society where there's no justice, then it's a road to chaos.
Let me pause it there, Fares. We'll quickly bring guest to join the conversation before we bring it to a close. Cesar Mogba is the chieftain of the APC. We'll take a break. We'll be back with us. I'll be back with you in just a moment on TMI. Don't go away. Sosa Moegbe is the chieftain of the APC, is joining this conversation. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure you were encouraged by the flood, the rains, and all of that. And these are supposed to be in place within the state which your party is governing. But that's a matter for another day. Ekiti election is come and gone. The APC governor re-elected for a second term. But the undercurrents are still there. Vote buying, manipulation of the process, and all of that. What's your take?
Well, it was a good acting for the APC. The incumbent governor won overwhelmingly. Ekiti has 16 local governments, and the incumbent governor, Oyebanji, won one of the 16 local governments.
So it was 16 over 16.
16 over 16, and that was a very good outing. There were about 300 and something, just below 400,000 accredited voters, and Oyebanji scored 319,224 votes. And the remaining parties, the opposition, they just shared the other votes among themselves. And the closest, surprisingly, was the PDP. And the candidates scored about 40,000. And the ADC, that is making noise here and there, they got about 12,000 plus. What that shows is that the opposition is still very much deciding going into 2027. Once we get to 2027 and they lose woefully, they shouldn't cry, that they lost, because they've not been able to come together. They are fragmented, they have issues within themselves. That notwithstanding, all other issues that are still the undercurrent in our political system, the vote buying, the intimidation, how we call on the various authorities involved to try and put all of these things.
Are you bothered that the vote buying issue, like we saw, was mostly the handiwork of your party members?
That is not correct. I think the issue of vote buying cut across the board. I've had the opportunity to be in other political parties. I've also been in the field. I can't tell you, categorically that vote buying cut across the board. There is hunger in the land. That's the truth of the matter. People will naturally come and meet you to sell their votes. You understand what I'm saying? They are not coming like, what are you going to do?
Is this a strategy of the APC to weaponize hunger so the people can come to them to willingly sell their votes?
Not at all. I was not on ground, and I have not heard any report that APC people were caught buying votes. So it is not an issue of the APC. What I'm trying to say is this, that if there is an issue of vote buying in our electoral system, it is not peculiar to one political party, but it cuts across the board.
All right, Dr. Tan, maybe you can just breathe a little bit on this conversation, and then the issue of deregistration of political parties, before we call it a wrap.
Before a case is brought before the court, people would have motivated the action. So, the issue was brought before the court. The justice, as they say, is blind. The judge will look at the facts of the matter before giving a ruling. It's true that Mr. Okpere is a member of the ADC, and if his party is affected by this judgment, you don't expect him to be happy. But the truth is that a group of people brought the issue to the court, that the law says if a party over time does not win an electoral position, that party should be deregistered. It's what the law says. It is not the making of the judge. So those who decide to activate the issue now are those wise men, maybe in the ruling party or whichever party, who decide to capitalize on that loophole to do or to undo those who are warming up to make a difference. But the only thing I will look, the second perspective I look at this issue is that, considering the fact that some persons who were elected on a platform of a political party have become to this party, we will still say they don't have elected representatives. That is the only thing I look at in the judgment. But the judgment is based on law. It's not left for the political parties to appeal the judgment to correct this abnormally. I think the natural fear is that elections are coming, considering the fact that big wigs have decamp to these political parties with the hope that they can secure electoral position, and this judgment has been given. The natural fear is that politicians who are contractors, who are businessmen, will start having a second thought that we cannot stay here. They will now start looking for another party to report to so that they can get their future secured. So let the parties who are involved in this case go to the appeal court to challenge the judgment. Okay. I will not say it's the hard work of the ruling party motivating the judge. The judge has a name for himself or herself. Yeah. So he gave the judgment based on the facts of the law. If the parties are not satisfied, it should be challenged. I think the only thing we will be looking at is considering the state of our national life. Elections are just by the corner. Is it sensitive enough to give such a judgment at this time? That is the question you should be asking. But nevertheless, the law, as they say, is blind. So whoever is able to argue its case before the judge is one that will get judgment.
All right, so let's take the final word from you before we call it a wrap. What's your projection arising from what has happened in Ekiti and the shortcomings, glaring shortcomings, which in your opinion cannot be tied to your party? It's something that is common with our political process. And then this issue that is brewing up about the party in power wanting the situation wherein they alone will be in the ballot. A one-party state going into 2027.
Going into 2027, I want to say this. Nigeria will remain a multi-party democracy. Let's have that at the back of our mind. Nigeria can never be a one-party state. That said, going into 2027, we are going to have the APC is going to have a field day. It's going to be a massive victory for the APC, simply because the opposition, as we speak, they are still very much in disarray. I think the closest challenger that we have, that we may have, may be the NDC. And if you look at what is happening in the NDC today, the leader of that party is the former governor of Bayelsa State, Mr. Saraki Disin, and then their candidate is Peter Obi. They are having a movement inside the political party. I listened to Aisha Yusufu the other day, one of the obedient movement leaders. He was criticizing Saraki Dixon. So you can see that there is already infighting between them. At the end of the day, with about 30 governors that the APC is having, is going to be a landslide victory for President Bola Tinubu.
Okay, we will keep our fingers crossed and wait till 2027. We have more time. Certainly would have loved to continue with this conversation. First, thank you for coming. Dr. Dan, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Omar, thank you for coming. We'll take a short break. In a moment, we'll be having the Honorable Commissioner for Public Safety speak with us this morning on some of the gains and the projections in fighting insecurity in Edo State. Please stay with us.
Benin Cultural Dance, a unique dance and quality dance steps of the Benin people. This dance is a vibrant mix of traditions, arts and beliefs, deeply rooted in the country's diverse ethnic groups and their rich history. The dance has artistic expressions depicting the people's history. Benin people have been famous for bronze and brass work, some of which is said to date back from the 13th century, especially ivory and wood carving. In Benin, the people dance to show respect, honor, dignity, which they honor. They dance to show royalty.
TMI on the ITV network. In just a moment, we'll be joining Abuja Network Studio. And just before that, we have with us the Honorable Commissioner for Public Safety at the State, Right Honorable Festus Ebea. Many thanks for joining us, Honorable Commissioner.
Good morning, Sonny Duke.
Good morning. Fantastic. We've seen some, positive feedbacks in the fight against insecurity in recent times, being the Sunday vegetable market kidnapping, the kidnappers that have been caught, and a lot of positivity along those lines. But the governor has come out to say he's going to put a structure in place to ensure that within 2-3 weeks, anyone found wanting doing kidnapping, cultism, armed robbery will be tried within 3 weeks, and then such a person will be subjected to capital punishment of even being hanged in the public space. Can you shed more light on this thrust?
Yes, the governor of Edo State, Senator Monday Okpebholo, is really disturbed about the state of insecurity, especially the kidnapping and all that. So when we were monitoring the hinterlands, the remote areas of the state, doing something to see how we can make sure that they don't infiltrate. But suddenly we saw them in the city center. Then the governor had to give a marching order to all the security agencies. So last week, he called a meeting of the Security Council in the state, and he gave all of us a charge that those people must be arrested. And within 24 hours, they were arrested. And even the ones that fled before, they've been brought back to Edo State. They're in detention. Because of that, he has equally found out that most of the kidnappers over time that have been arrested, even before he came on board, they are still on awaiting trial, which does not go well for us. So he now said, okay, what do we do? In his own wisdom, he thought it wise to say, let's set up a special court that will be dispensing justice immediately, and anyone found culpable will face the capital punishment as it is required by law, passed by those State House of Assembly, even back the time we were there, because we have seen kidnapping in between 2011 and 2015 legislative years, that kidnapping is almost like armed robbery, even an advanced part of armed robbery, because in robbery, it's violent crime. You take weapons, guns, machetes, and all that. Kidnapping, too, is not just done by word of mouth. You equally do that. And he has added to it, the houses will be brought down, but again, he had to make sure that they are charged immediately and the appropriate punishment is meted out to anyone who is culpable. So, letter within 24 hours had been sent to the judiciary to set up the committee, and I believe that this week you are going to see things unfold.
Fantastic. Those found culpable will receive capital punishment, hanging in public place. What do you make of that?
Yes, it is to serve as a deterrent to people who are thinking that is the smartest way to make money. The governor had made it clear, being involved in crime is not a way to live. It's not a way to make life, and it's not a way that will be allowed to fester in Edo State.
We've seen some reports that with some of the bandit activities surrounding Edo State, some indigenes are beginning to get involved. You look at areas like Ekpoma, Auchi, Ubjaja, Uromi, and some of these other places. What is government doing to nip this in the bud?
No doubt about it. Hence, we are saying it is not just you renting house. And they say, oh, you rented a house and the landlord did not know that you are a kidnapper. Some of them, they use proceeds of crime to equally try to have their own abode. So all of them will go in for it. And our people, to some extent, they like life. They want to live. But they want to live at the pain you cause to your neighbor. So we realized that, and the governor in his wisdom said, no, if these people want to live and subject his neighbor to that kind of pain, then he too will not live. So it's a message to the every Edo persons, not just the citizens of Edo State, anyone that lives in Edo, to know that crime of that nature will not pay. Crime in its essence will not even pay, no matter how minimal. So you better find a way to do other things, or you better get out of Edo State. So the governor is not joking, and he's making it possible for everybody to know that he is not joking.
How safe are schools in Edo State, particularly those in vulnerable communities, inaccessible communities, against the background that there was a report recently of a threat to schools in some schools or in some areas in Edo North, and then a few days ago there was a story that literally went viral, you know, possibility of an attack in Owan Axis. So how safe are schools today?
Before now, the governor has charged the security agencies, especially under my ministry, the Edo State Security Corps had been mobilized to make sure they go around all the schools and put physical money, security-wise, put men. While the students are in school, men must be there, well armed. And now we have added, he has added the police and the army, if need be. But again, the one of last week, you heard the Holy Trinity Grammar School, Sabongida Ora. That was a lie. The man who did it, who created that video, has since been picked up. It's in the police net, and he'll be charged accordingly. You should stop sending fears into the minds of Edo people. You are telling Edo people that Holy Trinity is being attacked. When I called Mr. Speaker, whom of course is an alumnus of that school, he just told me right away that the man had been picked up. That's his own community, number 3 citizen of the state. A thing like that happening, he didn't know. As soon as he saw the video, he made inquiries and he tracked the person who brought out the video. And they got him arrested. And he was just saying that his usual blogging and looking for followers to be making illegal money. So most of the information you hear, if they are not well verified, you find out that people begin to take it as the truth position in Edo State. But by and large, I'm not saying that we are resting on our oars. Like I said, I want to repeat it again. All the schools are being manned by security agents to ensure that at least they remain the first point. Anyone entering the school will know that people are here. Yeah. And they surround, and the school too, they are being fenced. All the perimeters of the schools are being fenced. So far, so good. The governor had done over 60%. The ones that are being awaited are still being considered, and the appropriate way to make sure that people get to site to put them secured is in the offing.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner, Public Safety. If I have more time, I'd love to talk with you more, but thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
It's still TMI on the ITV network. We'll link you up now with our Abuja network studio, where Kadri has been waiting patiently to drive our conversation on the just concluded Ekiti State governorship election, looking at the outcomes, the conduct, and projections for 2027. Please stay with us.
All right, thank you so very much, Dr. Duke, for that very beautiful presentation. Of course, we have something similar to discuss here, which centered around the outcome of the just concluded governorship election of Ekiti State, where, of course, the winner, the sitting governor, Abiodun Oyebanji, got a number that no governor in the state has ever gotten, 319,224. And then his closest rival got 40,000. You know, it's just, the gap is just too wide. But there are issues in the election which one has to do with intimidation, voter inducement, and of course vote buying. And that is the crux of our discussion this morning, and will be done through the eyes of the Executive Director, Certain Leadership Initiative, Dr. A.K. Peters. Very good morning and welcome.
Good morning, it's a pleasure. Good morning, Nigerians.
Yeah, so the Ekiti election has come and gone with about 38% of voter turnout. Let's start from there. What are your thoughts?
I have just completed a book on voter apathy, the imperatives and consequences in Africa and Nigeria. By August, I'll be publishing that book. It's quite unfortunate that this trend has continued. I traced it right from 1983, 79, down to today. It's so unfortunate. In the 2023 general election, we had about 92, 94 million registered voters. At the end of the day, only 24 million voters came and voted in that election. And the winner, the president, emerged as the president of the largest nation in Africa, a nation of about 235 to 240 million Nigerians. A person emerges as president of that country with 8 million votes. It doesn't tell the good story of Nigeria. And we have cried it, and we keep crying, and it is still manifesting. It has come to play again in Ekiti State. Just about far less than 40% of registered voters and of even those who collected their PVC turned out to vote. What is the issue? We must have to get to the nitty-gritty of this, and to sustain our democracy. Democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And if you must be a leader of the person, you must come from the collective will and decision of the people. We can't have such a number of voters, and then we have such abysmal number. We can't have such number of registered voters, and we have such abysmal number of those who actually come out to cast their vote on election day. It is a negative on our democracy. It is a negative on Nigeria. And I think going forward, we should devise ways of how best we can ensure that citizens participate. The buy-in of citizens into this democracy is still evolving. Well, after almost 30 years of the return of democracy since 1999, we are still where we are. Sincerely, it doesn't tell good of us. Going forward, we must ensure that patriotism is rekindled in Nigeria, and the electoral process must be made such that people will have faith in the sanctity of the ballot. For now, we are still a far way off.
But when you look at the outcome of that election concerning the results, what do you make of it when the winner got 319,000 and then the second, his runner-up got 40,000. The third person got just 2,773. What's happening?
Did you not see it coming? Did you expect that it would have been different? In the build-up to the Ekiti off-cycle Guba election, it was obvious that one party was really on ground, working so hard, traversing the length and breadth of Ekiti State, while other parties were still grappling with issues of legitimacy, issues of court process, issues of candidate disagreements into this and that and that.
Authenticity of factions.
Authenticity of factions and all of that. And a particular party had consolidated itself and was already working. It has manifested in the result. Nobody expected that any other party would have won in this Ekiti election. So the result, or the outcome of the result, is a reflection of what people knew would be. Not because the APC may be so well at the national or so well at the state, but because they are more prepared. They were more prepared for this election. They went into this election as a house, not divided. They got support from everywhere. They made sure they hit the ground running on time. They engaged the people. They tried to change the narratives as they were and ensured that they got the confidence of the people. Other parties didn't have enough time to do this. Other parties probably also didn't have the resources to do this. Other parties also were already defeated probably before they went to the election. And the outcome is exactly what we are seeing.
We were defeated before they go to the election. That's interesting. Now let's look at the crux of the matter, why we have this discussion this morning, which has to do with intimidation, voter inducement, and vote buying. It's just recurring despite efforts by the government, security agencies, anti-graft agencies to ensure that this is nipping the bud. It appears it's not working because we saw some of the contestants coming out to cry on social media. We saw them even on mainstream media saying that there were, huge amount of money deployed to buy votes. Some of them actually say they saw the money and they called on police to take care of the issue, but nothing happened.
There are 4 basic essential ingredients of an election. It has to be free, fair, credible, and transparent. Was the Ekiti governorship election free? Yes, it was free. Was Ekiti governorship election fair? Yes, it was reasonably very fair. Was it transparent? I may not be too sure. Was it credible? I may not be too sure, but was it transparent? Yes, it was transparent. So out of 4 basic essential ingredients, 3 are very clear. That the election was free, the election was fair, the election was what? Transparent.
That's 75%.
It may not be too credible. Now, when you talk about or talk of intimidation, when the election is free, and all those who were candidates to run for the election, all political parties were allowed to run for the election. Every political party was allowed to have its polling agent in every polling unit. Unfortunately, most of these political parties, apart from the ruling All Progressive Congress, didn't even have agents in polling units. Again, the election was fair. Fair in the sense that they gave everybody equal and non-zero opportunity of not just being in the ballot, of campaigning. And remember, election is a process. The process does not just end in election day. It goes on to counting and the declaration of a result. So when I judge all of these based on these ingredients that I'm talking about, these parameters, I look at the entire process, I look at the entire system. So when you say intimidation, I start looking at it from different perspectives. Now, coming about the credibility of election and the intimidation you are talking about, that you are not allowed to come to the polling unit when you do not have a voter's card or permanent voter's card. It's a standard in every election. That you are qualified to vote and you are refused accreditation and they ensure that you were not allowed to vote is intimidation. Did we have these circumstances very clear and captured on camera on credible conventional media houses like ITV? No, I am not aware. I watch your station, I listen to your news, and I didn't see this thing really captured in camera clearly that I was supposed to vote and I was disallowed from voting.
No, that's not the issue. The issue, what we saw, I'm sure you have seen that, you saw a candidate of participating in the election, the ADC candidate, the SDP, in fact up to yesterday he still insisted that huge amount of money was deployed. He saw it, he called security agencies, they came and did nothing.
We are talking about intimidation. Your question is on intimidation. Intimidation means I use my strength. The vote buying than you and stop.
No, that did not happen. That did not happen.
And I want that established.
That didn't happen, and it's clear, accepted. But what happened that I know you saw, and I want you to talk about it. Monies taken to the polling unit. People were given cards after they cast their vote. Is that part of the election?
Now, I don't know how this should be blamed on the candidate of the APC or on the APC as a party.
You are running too fast.
Now,
you're running too fast.
Let me say this.
I didn't mention who is to be blamed.
The winner has been declared.
I didn't mention. I did not mention who is to be blamed.
Yes, and I can safely assume that what you are saying, if these various candidates of the political parties that didn't win are obviously exhibiting disgruntlement, which it should be. I went into an election. I am not satisfied with the outcome, and I am disgruntled because I didn't get what I thought I should get. So I should cry foul. I should say this and this happened. Given, let us assuming, without conceding, that it was so. Was it the responsibility of APC and a candidate of APC to handle
we
this.
still did
We
not.
had security agencies.
Good.
We had INEC officials there. We had police there. We had the military there. We had civil defense there. We have forest guards there. We have immigration officials there. And we had so many other people whose responsibility it was to identify this. They were fully briefed and they were mobilized and paid to go and get that job done. If they didn't do it, how is it the fault of the political party and the candidate of the political party that won? We should learn to ensure that we get things done well. However, every political party is supposed to have an accredited agent who represents that political party and the candidate of that political party in the polling unit. He or she is expected to ensure that accreditation meets the standard as prescribed in the Electoral Act. He or she is expected to ensure that voting meets the standard as prescribed in the Electoral Act. He or she is expected to ensure that every registered voter is not intimidated, is not de-enfranchised and forced from not voting. At the end of the day, if he does that or notices any infringement or infraction or things that he or she thinks is not correct and is not in tandem with the Electoral Act, you don't sign the result. Did they sign their result? They did. The king is dead.
Okay, can I ask you this question? And I just want you to be objective about the answer. Do you see vote buying as something that should be dealt with in our election?
It is. Vote buying is a no-no for me. It is what has recently started emerging in the Nigerian polity.
So why is it, why is it a no-no for you?
It is a no-no for me because when people are induced with money, they are not voting their conscience. They are not voting the candidate they think is good by their own appraisal. They are not voting the ideology of a party that they think is the best ideology that should move the state, the federal constituency, the senatorial district for the country forward. They are not voting the manifesto that they think is the kind of manifesto that can change the narrative for the good. They are voting based on stomach infrastructure. They are voting based on, of course, stomach infrastructure is an Ekiti coinage that has been adopted by the rest of Nigeria. They are gullible people who look at the now, and those are the real problems we have in Nigeria. If
So
which means
and
you refuse to take
now, so which means
naira.
by your explanation, which means that if a voter accepts money and vote based on inducement, based on trading, vote trading, it means that such a voter is not expected to ask who he told his vote to.
By the law of INEC, by the Electoral Act, by the Constitution of Nigeria, is criminal. The person who gives the money and the person who receives the money are equally culpable. Both of them are criminal. They are expected to be arrested. And the security agents were there. They were supposed to do exactly that.
I was heading somewhere, Doctor. I was saying that if a voter sells his vote, it means he or she does not have the local standard to begin to demand for dividend of democracy.
The people get the kind of government they deserve. The people get the kind of government they deserve. Because it is the people that vote for the government. So, if the people feel this kind of person we want, the person who will give them bread to eat before the election, the people who will give them 5,000 naira for them to go and cast their vote, and on the basis of that, they are attracted to him and vote for him. They have spoken. Incidentally, it is the vote that counts. If you ask me about the Ekiti election, this man, Biodun Oyebanji, win, he won fair and square. How did he win is a different thing. You have not asked me that. But that he won the election is true.
You know, the discussion is just centered around the ills, you know, some of the malpractices that the Electoral Act is against. You know, both local and foreign observers are deployed to see if that will happen. We have seen the report of Yaga. CDD will soon be on the way. Situation room is today. EU also made their own report, and many other observer groups. Nobody is going to doubt the fact that the governor, Oyebanji, did not win. He won. But the issue is about vote buying, and no one has pointed accusing finger a particular party for buying votes. That's why I'm saying you are just in a hurry. Nobody has CPC or PDP or SDP, ABGA, PRP, and NC did not participate that bought votes. No, but the issue is that there were vote buying, and if arrests were made and are brought to law, you may even be shocked that it's not even APC that sponsored that. That's why I'm saying you are in a hurry. But give and take, do you see this election as a litmus test for the 2027 general election?
The signs are clear. Even the blind man can see that the Ekiti election is a precursor to the January 16, 2027 general election in Nigeria. I speak as a statesman. I speak as a patriot. And that is why my last statement was the people get the kind of leadership they deserve. And Nigerians fight for democracy. We cry on social media. We cry on the streets. We stay in our various groups and complain. Out of our population of about 240 million, about 180 million or 180 something million of that population, about 160, 170 million are of eligible voting age. How many people have gone, as I speak with you now, I go everywhere with my voter's card. I go everywhere. This is my voter's card. So how many Nigerians have their voter's card? Now, those who have their voter's card, how many of them go out on the day of election to vote? On the day of election, you find youths who don't have jobs playing football on the streets.
Even the ones that have jobs,
houses.
even the ones that have jobs are gainfully employed, exercise.
Beautiful.
So we'll go and vote and come back and continue the exercise. So we'll exercise before going to play, before going to vote. So
indeed, the devil is not as black as he's painted. I have come to see the import of this statement in Nigeria. If we all rise, you see, Nigeria is a country of intellectuals. Everybody knows the right thing to do. Nobody wants to do the right thing. So, and when we do not rise to do the right thing, we get the result that we deserve.
What's the right thing?
The right thing is patriotism. The right thing is statesmanship. The right thing is that everybody must rise and perform his civic responsibility. And the civic responsibility of every 18-year-old in Nigeria is to have a voter's card, is to go out on election day, to vote for a candidate and party of your choice, stay and ensure that the votes are counted, and go back home. Protect the vote that has been counted, and ensure that the vote that was counted and pasted on your polling unit is the one that is transmitted to the IRF, is the one that is sent to the RAC, which is the World Collation Center, is the one that is transmitted to the local government collation center, it is the one that is transmitted to the state collation center.
And the one that eventually announced. Thank you so much for your time with us, Dr. A.K. Peters, Executive Director, Setting Leadership Initiative, for your time with us on the program. I'm sure that when we call you again, you come.
It's always my pleasure.
Yeah, vote buying is a killer to Nigeria's democracy, and we must fight against it.
I've dissected
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We now move to Lagos Network Center for continuation of the program this morning on ITV.
Hello, welcome back to the continuation on ITV from our Lagos Network Center. This morning, we'll be looking at the just concluded governorship election and how it's going to reflect in the 2027 general election. I'm not going to be doing this alone. I have my senior co-anchor with me, Doctor, introduce yourself.
It's great to be with you again. The weekend was another victory for democracy because an election has taken place, not much violence or if any to report, and results and the winners are reached, and we're moving forward. So I think that's a big plus for us. But this morning, obviously, our guest is here to analyze the election and its implications for 2027.
Yes. He is Mr. Osose. Mr. Chris Osose, you're welcome. He is a political analyst. I mean, he's a friend to the house. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me again.
Let me start by asking you how the morning is on your way to the studio.
Oh, yeah. Naturally, Monday mornings are very challenging. The rush to work and all of that, school children, put bills to that and all that. But today was a bit different.
Really?
Because, I encountered an accident on a truck that actually broke, like almost 90% of the road actually broke into a house, shop and all of that. And then and we just left there.
What part of Lagos?
That's coming from Ileko connecting to Ikeja. So it created horrible traffic there. And then what really beats me is the fact that the talk there since on Wednesday last week.
So what are you doing?
I just wonder.
So this accident was needless.
I don't know what led to it, what caused it, but the fact is that it's been there. The truck has been stuck there since Wednesday.
Could have been avoided.
So I learned.
The accident could have been avoided.
That's horrible. How do you sustain that? There's a local government authority. I mean, there's traffic authority. I mean, why would you leave that horrible hold up, wasting people's commercial time, social time? I mean, it shouldn't be there for up to 24 hours, but it has lasted for days now. When is it last week till now? I mean, they don't do that.
Anyway, let's leave Lagos to Ekiti that we'll be talking about today. Let me start by asking you to overall the assessment of the just concluded Ekiti governor's election.
Well, okay, for the sake of democracy, it would be fine to call the recently concluded Ekiti governorship election for the sake of democracy. But for me, I thought it was more for a coronation. Because for like over 2 years now, those are objectives I've always said there has not been opposition in Ekiti. There's no opposition in sight, no opposition on ground. We knew it was going to be a field day walkover, you understand? And it came out like that. I mean, the governorship election, it turned out the winner, Oyebanji, got about 319,000 votes, compared to that came with 40,000 votes, and then ADC that came through with 12,000 votes. I mean, you can just imagine. It was more or less like contested against himself. Okay, so opposition has not been on ground in Ekiti. It was just, like I said, for the fun of it, a coronation for the governor to come back to power. But one thing that interests me about the outcome, because he hit a record, he broke a record. In Ekiti is known for, Ekiti Ondo, that's stubborn nature and all of that. So there's a way that their governors don't return on a straight second term.
Yeah.
Ekiti started out, the first Ekiti governor was in 1999, and Adebayo. All right. So he couldn't succeed himself because Fayose came out to defeat him in 2023. And after Fayose, the Obasanjo saga that impeached Fayose, Fayemi came on board. Fayose came back and defeated Fayemi in the second term of Fayemi. And then Segun Oni took over from Fayose. Fayose couldn't go in the second term. Then Fayemi came back again, and Fayose defeated him. And then Oyebanji came. And for the first time, Ekiti has recorded a governor that succeeded himself in a straight 8 years term. You understand? So that's for me. So he has broken the jinx. He has broken the record. But it's not particular to Ekiti alone. Such also happened in Oyo, as old as Oyo is. The first time he going to succeed himself in Oyo was with the late Ajumobi. Okay. And even in Kano, ancient Kano, it took Shekarau to succeed himself as governor. But for the recent one in Ekiti, it's a big congratulations to Ibanji, not just for winning the election, but also breaking the jinx of succeeding himself in power.
Okay, Doctor.
This is very interesting. Me to just give a proverb in Pidgin English.
All right, that's okay.
Before the proverb, I would say this. This particular election, from observers and from media reports, we saw how money exchanged hands brazenly, openly, and shamelessly. My proverb is this. They say monkey smart, not monkey smart. Now because tree, they near tree. What do I mean? Put a tree here and put one 100 meters away, and let's see how smart the monkey would be. If Ekiti had been so sure, if there was no opposition over the last couple of years, as you have claimed, why would particularly the ruling party be dishing out as much as 15,000, 20,000 naira to buy votes?
To buy votes.
All right. I think let's start with vote buying. It's a pandemic. It's horrible. It's an election process. Well, let me feel ashamed, not for myself, but for the nation, to say that our democracy after so many years is still developing. Now, going back to vote buying, maybe it's crude, terribly crude, but we saw that even in last election, the king of the world in America, towards that election, we saw the U.S. president in some kind of stimulating vote buying thing, not coming. We saw what Elon Musk did.
Are you justifying?
I'm not justifying it.
Why the excuse?
It's not an excuse. I'm just trying to lay a foundation.
Okay.
That even in America, that is the king of democracy in the world, we saw what Elon Musk did. That's the owner of the richest man in the world.
What did he do?
Elon Musk pumped out money outrightly for vote buying.
And was buying votes publicly?
No. Was it public? No, you can't even justify, because what you're saying is not factual. No, just a minute.
Okay.
Just a minute. Elon Musk, and I'm giving you facts now, and you can verify. Elon Musk had perhaps, arguably, the biggest media voice that could influence votes. That's Twitter. Media, if buying media is what you're calling vote buying, they're not the same thing. We're talking about buying votes, not influencing through media, because election, yes, you need money to prosecute election. Just a minute.
You're not listening to me.
Let me finish and you can throw more light.
Okay, fine.
Because the viewers need to get the information as it is. The language is buying votes. It's not, you can buy media. You can pay people to go and do door-to-door campaigns. That's where money goes into in democracies like America. Not that in queues. And that's the question I'm asking you, so that you don't turn it another way.
Yeah.
I'm talking about media in front of taking cash and inducing voters are voting.
Voters were displaying money.
What I'm talking about.
I was on a journey before you interrupted.
No, that journey was going somewhere else. Just realign.
Let me get it back to you now. Yes. Probably you were probably not aware of what happened. Elon practically, not just because you own X, Elon Musk practically dished out for vote buying up to the point of $1 million US. You can fact check me on that. I wish online, as I'm on program right now, I will see the reason Elon Musk gave out money in vote buying. He did that and he proudly did so. So much that
Chris,
benefited from me.
Chris.
So much space.
Chris, like he said, like he said, was he dishing out more on the day of
That's what
he just
allow me to learn. Saying that what you've seen in Nigeria is crude, disappointing, is true. All right, I am not in support of it. It tells our backward.
So why do we need to talk about America? This is our problem.
You know, I was just trying to lay a foundation, and then you are misunderstanding.
No, I'm not misunderstanding. Let's focus on Ekiti and Nigeria.
Problem with making reference.
No. Let's focus on this.
All right.
Because there's not the same.
You got me.
No.
But this is
America vote buying and what we saw in Ekiti State are not the same thing.
What happened in Ekiti? Like I said, let me be very clear on this. Vote buying is anti-democracy. Vote is insane. It is actually a crime. Okay, those that collected, those that gave should be penalized. The process is criminalized. They should be prosecuted. I am not for it. I'm not in support of it. It's shameful. It's horrible. It should not be in a democracy. It should not happen. Now, I am strongly condemning it.
Mm-hmm.
It is not right.
Okay.
Now, what I was trying to say as regards that shamefully, such tactics has bastardized our election process.
Mm-hmm.
So it easily creep into the process. We see it every now and then. As a matter of fact, there are some people that might not even step out to vote at all. It's not just about the past now. It's also a crime by the people, because some people just stay back home. They don't feel concerned. But when you go to induce them, then they come out to vote. They are not. That participation awareness is also a problem, because the people, there's a market for it. All right. So the politicians understand that. And the thing is this: it's not just the ruling party that does that now. It's about the highest bidder thing, because others do the same, but just that some gave 2,000, like that, 1,000, 5,000. Then the one with the bigger chest, bigger purse, does more, 15, 20, like that, all of that. And what I'm trying to say is this: we should condemn it generally, but sadly, that when I started by saying at this time and age, we are still having a developing democracy election process, because we see it happen all over. It has become a part and parcel of our election process. It's shameful, it's highly condemnable, and then such should not be in our electoral system.
Anyway,
I'll come back.
Chris, so with the vote buying thing, would you describe the election as free and fair or credible?
Well, that would be somewhat relative, because ordinarily, vote buying, the side of vote buying will have distorted the credibility of the election, naturally, But consider the fact that we are more or less, in quote, forced to relate with that reality that is in our electoral process, which all political parties are probably guilty of, all right? But sincerely speaking, I really do not think that will have changed the pendulum of the victory side, because give and take, because when you talk about mobilization, that's another area you legally use money for and all of that, the opposition was actually not on ground. But either vote buying or not, would you not really...
So the question was it free and fair? Yes, apart from that, is it also necessary? Because you claimed Oyebanji was, over the past 3 years, there's been no opposition. So why was it necessary to even buy the votes at all? To induce voters, especially at the point of voting?
Okay, that tells you how corrupt the process is, how bastardized the process is. Because the thing is, if you are not buying votes, like I said earlier, I'm condemning it. I'm not for it. But if you are not buying votes, the next guy is buying votes, and you think that might steal from your chances, so you don't want to leave any stone unturned. Unfortunately, the entire process of our electoral process is puggery. Okay, that's where we are as a nation. Even those that don't give shishi, they all get involved in vote buying. You understand? So it's an ailment in the electoral process. So if you are not doing it, the next guy is doing it. Because in Nigerian politics, particularly in Nigerian politics, there's no nice guy on election day.
So why do we have it in our laws?
Well, enforcing the law is another thing. We know the Nigerian thing. So
what's the Nigerian thing? We don't know the Nigerian thing.
The Nigerian thing is the process is bastardized. And then let's get a bit deeper. Enforcement of law in Nigeria is comatose to a large extent. you see something written boldly in the Constitution, and then what is playing out in the field is contrary to that, and yet even the courts find problem with enforcing.
Why is that so in our democracy? Why the impunity? Let me explain myself. Because obviously there's a law, and people are not adhering to this law. What gives them the boldness for this impunity, for this lack of observance of the law? Why would the police be helpless in the face of this impunity? Why would INEC be helpless in the face of this impunity? And why would the people be helpless in the face of this impunity?
It tells you one thing: broken system.
What?
Broken system.
Okay.
The system is broken. We are still patching it, working it up. But the truth of the matter is that we have a failing system.
Who should you hold responsible?
I'm not to be kind of to say
who should you hold responsible?
The managers of the nation. Those.
Define them properly.
Okay, I will start with. Of course, number one person should be the number one man of the nation, the president. You look at the National Assembly, you look at the enforcement agency, you look at the judiciary prosecuting such. Though we see pocket of prosecution of that, but it is nothing measurable to the menace that happened during the election process.
Okay, Chris. So what lesson do you think we can learn for 2027? Because the way it's going, it looks like this is going to repeat itself in the 2027 general elections. Are there any lessons we should learn and things we should get ready for in the 2027 general elections?
I think the bolder to fix the system. Because unfortunately, the managers of the system benefit from the brokenness of the system. So they do not have the passion to fix the system because the brokenness of the system works for them. All right. So that's where we are. So I think it will start with some kind of purposeful and a determined protest to work against such and then demand for sanity in our electoral process. Because I try to be very objective. Ideally, you expect the managers to do what is right. But like I said earlier, they also benefit from it. So it works for them. So they're going to live it that way. So they not take the people that feel shortchanged and raped to take that responsibility to demand for sanity through our election process.
So who are these people? Who benefits from it?
Oh, we see them. Those that rise to power. Because ideally, if we're looking at it...
rise or those in power, those in authority?
Those in authority. Those are risen to power. Because it's not just starting now. It has always been. All right? So, and this is not a pain. It's a guilt across board. It's a fault in the political system. Okay? So, all politicians... I mean, it's almost difficult to say that anybody that got into power got there without any form of inducement or some kind of fault line. So they are all guilty, but the level of guilt could differ. All right. So they're all guilty. And then to fix it, it's not also going to be overnight. It's going to be over time. That's another reality we must embrace. And we don't measure our expectation properly. We always have our heads in the cloud. This is a faulty system. All right. And then to fix it, it cannot be overnight because it is entrenched. So it's what you have to fight and then step up your will to confront it and then pull it down. All right. So over time, we should get there. But then the people that should also fast track it, because the people are the ones that are raped. But the people are also involved deeply in the corruption.
Okay. Chris, so are you now saying INEC failed in this Ekiti elections?
No, because that's an aspect of it that is faulty. That's an aspect of it because there are different paths to election success. Vote buying is an ailment that has failed again. It's a part of it. The other part. So you would not like you say that you don't throw away the baby with the dirty water. All right. So that aspect of the election process failed. But the other aspects, we saw that there was not much of violence. Ordinarily, governorship elections take claimed lives, but we didn't see that. We saw that ballot boxes were not snatched, stuffing of votes, whatever. All of that was.
So what about the beavers and the technologies?
And it worked well, incredibly well. At least something close to 100%. There was no complaint about that. I listened to some of the other cast-outs. Nobody complained about the beaver, and all of that. So there was no that issue of manipulating results. Sometimes you see the result sheet, heavily manipulated and all of that. There were no such. So on a scale of 10, I'll probably give it an 8.
Okay. Interesting. And we had 39% voted.
Yeah. Voters, see?
Yes. We have lived with this for a time now, and when I ask people, some of the reasons my votes will not count anyway, and the people who usually say their votes will not count are usually people who will not vote for the incumbents, but they feel that even if they go, that those who are there already have already written the results. The results are already set. It won't count. That's the one. There's dogs, obviously. And then there are those who simply feel that the system will not work. Can we continue like this? Because at this rate, if we give up, someday, only 2% of the voters, maybe not in our lifetime, will come out because we'll assume that, okay, that will not make a difference. How is that? What does that say about our current state of democracy and the future?
All right. To give proper answer to this, I would like us to just do a little backup on where we're coming from. Before now, when after 1999, and then with what election was in Nigeria, is as such that, particularly looking at the 2003 election, while you are still queuing, voting, the result of your word will be announced. It was that bad. That's where we're coming from. Elections are written in hotels. Elections are written in government houses and all of that. And it is imposed and announced. Figures, no check, whatever, you just announce result and it goes on like that. That was how bad it was. But when on board, 2015, he introduced a level of technology. All right, that reader's card, whatever, that cage.
The beavers?
Not beavers yet.
The card reader.
Card reader. There's a particular name for it. All right, it was a form of technology that was able to cope, because before then, even in fact, the vote result oftentimes will be more than the registered voters, and all goes in. Was able to stop the idea of just writing results, all of that. And that worked for 2015 elections. So it curtailed the madness process. Then again, we saw the beavers that was introduced by Mahmoud. All right, that again improved on what Jega did to streamline the begin. Still not perfect, but of course it was able to curtail it such that you cannot have election outcome higher than the
registered
voters. You understand? So there was no more room for writing results, no more room for announcing results where you are still queuing. So we are improving. We must a journey. Now, our elections are not perfect, but the fact that it's improving and significantly improving, I appreciate that. For me, that's a glimmer of hope, and I can hold on to that time. We're going to hold them accountable, keep getting better. Because in days of OBJ, when it was very crude and horrible, nobody thought it could ever come to where it is today. But compared to what we have today now, compared to what it was in 2003, it's like we're in heaven. All right?
That is subjective.
In comparison.
No, that's your view.
Do you know how bad it is that while you are still on the queue voting and the result is announced, do you know how horrible that is? And that can no longer be done now. So there's a huge improvement. There's a huge improvement.
Chris, let me take you on that, because we saw videos.
Are you denying the fact that was happening?
Chris, I want to take you on that.
We announced while you're on queue.
Let me take you on that. We saw a video of an old woman, elderly woman, who said she had gone there twice and her name was not on the register. Okay. And she had registered to come out to vote. And so yesterday she was outside. She couldn't vote. She was crying that she had come severally
on Saturday
to check on her name, and her name wasn't found on the registrar's list.
All right,
so how do you explain that?
First question Dr. asked, wanted to permit me to do that. When those that say that votes will not count, I would say that they are just probably more of lazy minds. Because say vote won't count. If follow the process objectively. I am not saying we have a credible process that is we can just go to bed on. But I'm saying that we are seeing improved situation. What we are seeing today, you vote and your vote will count because now you have access to in fact right there at the polling unit you can use access to take pictures. I've done that severally as an individual. All right, you can have access to the vote whenever that's voted. So if somebody is saying that the vote won't count in this time and age, I just think they're being lazy-minded. That's that. Now to what you said, there's what you call awareness process, adequate information. Because one thing that also happened because of increased population, INEC also creates more polling units. No, it's possible that if you are registered here at a particular polling unit, that some are taken to a new one, and then in that transit, sometimes there are no adequate information, or some people, because of how we have as a people, might also want to know, okay, if I'm still at this side or I've been to a newly created.
Don't you think information should have been passed out?
That's what I'm saying. That there is deficiency in information on the part of the organizer, and sometimes too the people are also guilty, because what it should mean is this: if there's an awareness that look, we are creating more polling units, so it means that some will be congested. So it means that what you do to yourself, like what I do personally, before election day, I go to find out if where I'm voting still where I was still.
So when you're talking of an elderly woman, so we're using her, as a case, for all elderly people. You can do that. She might not know what to do.
Well, it could be that, because it's not everything we blame on the organizers. It could be that she's been relocated to voting units. All right. Now, they will pass out information. It probably is not adequate, or the people who are getting it, or the people are not even minding the information. We do that because the people also are guilty of lackadaisical attitude. We know this lives with us, even as a people.
Doctor, please to you.
Let me correct something there. I hope you understand that I'm not justifying the system. I'm not justifying it.
That's for the audience to join.
I'm not backing it. I'm just trying to say, look, we have this situation and significant improvement in electoral process. I was part of elections in 1999. I was part of election in 2003. And then what we saw back then, let me take my state for example. 2003, Lucky Benedict was supposed to come back to power. It was, for re-election. He had problem with Ambrose Ale University students. And they were not going to vote for you. And he told them outrightly. He said, I'm not waiting for your vote. He said it's Rugbe. So Rugbe was very much easy then. He said it was Rugbe. And I also know, it's on record that the former president OBJ threatened Jonathan Twain, and I said, "Let me see us from Aso Rock," because they were doing that. He said it openly, public. So these are
Chris, that's your opinion about
it. In Nigeria, and I'm taking it back. These are things that were in the public domain. Google search it, public domain. While we are still on the queue, you've not even voted. The result of your polling unit is announced.
Well, I hope you were aware that the last general election came with its own attendant controversies. In spite of the technology that was used, the transmission of votes and all that, the beavers, and where INEC and all the surrounding controversies, it's still same of same. Very, very little has changed. But I don't want us to overflog it. Oyebanji has come back.
Yep.
He has broken the record.
Broken the jinx.
Oh, the jinx. Okay. So he's the first to do back-to-back. He's not the first to do 2 times.
No.
But back-to-back.
Yeah.
he has been declared, I hope, winner of the election. The next one is Osun State. What do you see happening in Osun? Because in this case, the incumbent is not in the national ruling party, let me put it that way. He's now in a party that is, how do I put it, being almost proscribed.
Yeah.
Although I would say they are in court. Yes, under litigation. Is that some form of advanced rigging? What I mean by rigging now, ahead of the election, what chance do you think he has, even if he's popular? Because I do not think he's less popular than Oyebanji in his state.
All right. Osun politics, that's another different ball play. But first and foremost, I see it as a contest between Accord Party that that Adeleke is now on. I say straight fight between Accord Party and the APC, the Ambo guy in APC. Just strictly, it will actually go either ways. All right. But going to the election, there's always that tendency for the incumbent to be the favorite. We got to know that the camp of the Feman, the former deputy governor, popular guy, forgot his name now, Major is also collapsing his strong support the incumbent. They fell out of APC. He's working for the incumbent. All right, but the other time he won, he also got the support of the guy in ADC. Okay, but that guy is not standing now to also want to prove to his bosses that the ADC can do something in Osun. So he's not going to get the support of Aregbesola now. So okay, fine, that block is off his path. So, but for me, I think it's going to be a straight fight between the incumbent and the APC guy, Ambo. But as regards the listing of the party, because as it stands now, they are, even INEC has gone to appeal the case, all right? But there are standards to which the listing of parties can occur. We've seen that happen with different parties, all right? But you might question the timing that it ought to have been done long before now. If there's no political inducement around it, you can, of course, question the timing of it, but then it is within the legal orbit for those that could be delisted to be delisted. It's not illegal, all right? It's legally covered, but like I said, you could question the timing. However, it's still in court because part of the criteria that once you don't measure up the threshold, you don't measure up to that your party could get delisted is if in previous elections you've not done well with any elected officer, so it could be yanked off.
That's the main criteria, really.
That's the main criteria. Then all offices across the and these are accessible. It's not something that you can lay your hands on. So if they're up to that threshold, they could legally be deleted. But like I said, you could question the timing, all right, and then the intent behind it. But it is legally all right. There's nothing wrong about it.
Okay, so 1 minute, please. Let me just take this question. I'll circle back to. We've seen the results. Of course, you said Oyebanji has been coasting high over the past 3 years. He's been popular, so in the end, I was going to win. But from the results, what does it say about the current state of? I know you can't say that generally, but I mean, using that as an example, the current state of PDP and the emergence of ADC. What does that say? And probably the other parties. What does it say about them and possibly their chances in future elections?
I was really going to come to that because what you're also seeing in Ekiti is also a proof to the fact that John are not doing themselves any good. They're not showing presence.
But you said they'll be very popular.
Of course, yes. Everybody has been very popular, But despite that, opposition have not been coordinated to give a fight. So they've not, and it is largely because they've not been, coalition has not been there. It's fighting Nelly and all of that. They're not even standing together, to give a push. So they're not standing as a united house. All right. Now, if you're not standing as a united house and you're going to confront an incumbent, what chances do you have? So we've seen the opposition getting weaker by the day. All right. And not just now, not just in Ekiti now, across the nation. Because I fear for the fact that the two prominent opposition parties looking at the national scale now will be ADC and then NDC. And they've not been showing up. They've not been showing up in election results. Now, Saturday, result held in 7, beside the Ekiti governorship election, state and federal by-elections also held.
It was by-election, yeah.
Right across the from B to Kano to Ondo to Enugu, some of that. This opposition were off the radar. APC won in 6 of the states. It was only in Rivers State that PDP won. Then in 6 of the other states they won gallantly without ADC showing up, without NDC showing up. So that is worrisome for opposition. So they are not on ground in terms of grassroots mobilization. Now, and then this has been the story since 2023. Elections have held across the nation, by-elections have held across the nation, up to local government elections. You don't see this opposition showing up. They are always off the radar. It has always been the supposed dead PDP that is showing little kind of opposition to the APC. It has been APC all the way across the nation. Okay, so that is worrisome for the state of the opposition. And then I've always said that preparation for general election, presidential election, you need minimum of 4 years to prepare for presidential election. And then it starts from the ground up, grassroots mobilization. And if you're not featuring, you're not showing strength in grassroots mobilization, in grassroots election, and then you just think that 6 months to presidential election, you will show up, and then just from the top there, you'll be lying to yourself. They're not showing strength in grassroots mobilization. So how do you want to get the job done? Some of them as if having infighting in their camp, as in heavy fighting in their camp. They are disagreement here and there. They're not together. Unlike the ruling party, they are getting stronger in terms of synergy. Yes, after the primaries, they are a little fallen out, but it's been well managed. So if you are coming from a disadvantaged position as opposition against an incumbent that is on ground, all right, in the Nigerian thing, they call with federal might and all of that, and you are not coordinated, you are not together, you don't know what you are doing as an opposition party, what chance do you have in reality? About time we should understand that the noise on social media does not reflect on an election field day. It does not reflect because most of the time, you're popular on social media, use some kind of hope. But the truth is defile the popularity of social media because most of the time, the people that will vote on election day are not even big players on social media. They don't know the noise that's happening on social media. Okay? So this opposition should come to reality and understand that to stand a chance, you must future a strategic grassroots mobilization. And then what tests your strength in that is opportunity for elections like this, by elections. But the moment you don't show up, even in Enugu, NDC didn't show up at all. That should have been NDC power slots. Enugu, they didn't show up at all. APC won it outrightly. They didn't show up. You go to South, the Rivers. PDP won it outrightly. No NDC, no ADC. They're not even in Kano. Labour even did well under the former minister, Laku, all right? LP did well. LP post opposition in Kano. There was not even NDC, which Kwakwazo now been there in Kano. They didn't show up. They didn't show up. They were not on the radar.
Okay, Chris, let's look at the security agency.
Okay.
Didn't perform very well in this Ekiti election, and how do you think it will be done in 2027 general election?
For this particular election, the fact that vote buying was conspicuous, and then their president was supposed to make that impossible, and it happened despite their presence. So that again is a failure on their side as regards that. But then the fact that no smashing of election boxes and all of that, then I will credit them. The fact that there were no fightings and all of that, I will credit security officer. So we discovered that. So based on that, I will give them a thumbs up because of the
even with the vote buying in their presence.
And like I said earlier, vote buying is an aspect that failed. You cannot use the vote buying to judge the entire character of the election process because there are different departments of it. If they succeeded in other parts of the election, are you going to wink that away and say because there was a horrible vote buying, so we use that as a singular element to write off the entire credibility of the election process, even when they passed in the other parts? That will not be fair. That will not be fair because there are boxes to tick to make the credibility of the election. Now, if you measure 8 out of 10 rights, supposedly, okay, you measure 8 out of 10 rights, will you now say because of the failure of the 2, you now judge the entire process a failure?
Don't you think the vote buying in their presence is a major case?
That's in that aspect. But that will not be enough to discredit the entire election. You take the other boxes right, which is a large majority. So, the majority carry the vote.
Own view and opinion, what improvements do you think in vote registration?
Number one is awareness, political awareness. The people still don't own the process. Largely, you will say because there's no confidence in the process. So need to do a whole lot to ensure that they're able to attract confidence into the process. That will have to do with transparency, ensuring that you're professional in terms of the the umpires and all of that. That first and foremost, you have to convince Nigerians that election is all right. You need to come out to be part because your vote will count different. All right. So number one, the umpires need to be sure that they are getting part, and then there should be it's still part of the responsibility of the umpires. INEC this time around to educate the public in terms of parts because voters is becoming another ailment. On election day, some people see that as opportunity to rest. Some just just work. The interest is not high, and I oftentimes whenever I'm in a gathering of people on the street, and let's just do a sense how many people in this gathering now has a voter's card. You discover that the vast majority don't even have voter's card, and to even those that they use it as means of identification, not necessarily for voting process. So there is no confidence in the voting process, all right, and that adds a whole lot. And there's also as regard public participation in election. Nigerians are not taking it too seriously.
Okay, we're running out of time. Would you say the result transmission system was okay this time around?
Oh yeah.
Okay, Doctor.
Just in rounding up, I want you to speak to INEC, the government, the security agencies, based on what has happened in Ekiti, what we need to do to ensure that the next election is credible in the light of what we have seen this particular election.
I think the first gift is the fact that the president has to appoint the and there should have been an independent to do that first and foremost, because like they say locally, that even in that way cultivating the ground, you take it to your side. All right. So I think the first thing is ensure that there's a credibility of INEC officials. If the president and political players are not involved in it, that will do the process a whole lot. But then all the players, particularly the umpires, should understand that history beckons on them to do what is right.
For the security agents, okay, all right.
Thank you so much, Chris. I know that time tells we can continue this discussion, but hopefully you'll be coming back to the studio to conclude on this discussion. Doctor?
Yeah, on this note, I'd like to say that Ekiti has come and gone. At the end of the day, I would say democracy has won. Looking forward to future elections, and thank you, Chris, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. And so thank you to our viewers out there for joining us on the continuation of This Morning on ITV. I'm Patricia Urumu Gabriels.
The threat of global warming is real. You have seen the destruction of lives and property as a result of incessant flooding. Make the environment a conducive place for all to live in. Stop polluting the environment. Protect the environment today. This message is brought to you courtesy Independent Television and Radio.
Hello and welcome to the news update on ITV. I am Anuluwapo Stevens. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has declared Governor Biodun Oyebanji of the All Progressive Congress, APC, as winner of the 2026 Ekiti State Governorship election. The returning officer for the election, Professor Adenike Oladiji, Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Technology, announced the results in the wee hours of Sunday, declaring that Oyebanji secured a total of 319,222 votes to defeat his closest rivals in the contest conducted across the state's 16 local government areas. Professor Oladiji said the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Oluwole Oluyede, secured 40,543 votes, while Dare Bideji of the African Democratic Congress polled 12,872 votes.
Anji Abiodun Abayomi of APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
Well, she further disclosed that 384,940 voters were accredited for the election, while 375,777 valid votes were recorded. According to her, 6,332 votes were rejected, bringing the total votes cast to 382,109. Away from that, we'll move over to Nasarawa State, where the Independent National Electoral Commission has declared the candidate of the All Progressive Congress winner of the Nasarawa North senatorial by-election. Correspondent Umar Mohammed reports that the poll has been rejected by opposition parties, citing irregularities.
The returning officer for the election, Professor Aminu Aliu, announced the result at the Collation Center, declaring Honorable Eladi Halilu Mvulanza of the All Progressive Congress as the winner of the Nasarawa North senatorial by-election. According to INEC, Mvulanza secured a total of 42,362 votes, defeating his closest rival from the Labour Party, who polled 12,321 votes, and the People's Democratic Party, which recorded 11,570 votes.
I, Professor Aminu Ali, hereby certify that I am the returning officer for the 2026 Nasarawa North senatorial district by-election. The candidates received the following votes: 1. Halilu Danladi Mvulu Alda, male of APC, scored 45,362 votes. 2. Maku Labaran, male of Labour Party, scored 12,931 votes.
The election, which was generally described as peaceful, was however characterized by low voter turnout and reports of beavers' technical challenges in some polling units. Despite these concerns, electoral officials maintained that the process remained largely orderly. Some opposition parties, including the African Democratic Congress and other participating groups, have rejected the outcome of the election, alleging irregularities and calling for a review of the results. From Lafia, Umar Mohammed, ITV News.
Away from that now to other stories where Christians have been encouraged to live by the tenets of the Christian faith, embrace peace and shun injustice, with a reminder that persecution is an integral part of discipleship. The advice was given by the Assistant Parish Priest, St. Gabriel the Archangel Catholic Church, Sapleril, Benin City, Reverend Father Philip Ohaikena during Sunday Mass. Joy Obarisiabo reports.
Sunday Mass at St. Gabriel the Archangel Catholic Church marked the 12th Sunday of Ordinary Time. Delivering the homily, Reverend Father Philip Ohaikena urged parishioners to always speak the truth at all times and not be afraid, citing the example of Prophet Jeremiah in the Bible, who faced relentless persecution for his obedience to God.
The Lord is inviting us today to stand up and to speak for the truth at all times. He is inviting us today to show injustice that exists in our world, that exists in our society, that exists in our place of work.
He encouraged Christians to acknowledge Jesus Christ through unwavering obedience to God and by showing deep compassion to humanity.
The Lord calls us today to follow Him. In following Him, we must seek the kingdom of God. We must seek the kingdom of heaven.
The Mass featured uplifting worship songs that created an atmosphere of deep spiritual reflection and gratitude among the faithful. From Benin, Joy Obarisiabo, ITV News.
In a renewed effort to evangelize Nigeria for Christ, the Youth Fellowship of Christ Chosen Church of God International, led by the National Youth President, Deacon Osama Owangwe, embarked on a missionary outreach to Abakaliki, Ebonyi State, where they carried out intensive evangelism and church planting activities. The outreach culminated in a 3-day crusade featuring both daytime and nighttime services, drawing worshippers and residents from within and around the city. Osemudiame Osage has the details.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Speaking during a special Thanksgiving service held at Branch 2 of the church in Abakaliki, the spiritual leader of Christ Chosen Church of God International, Senior Apostle Dr. David Unoefe, represented by Apostle Peter Agemome, divisional head of the Enugu division, charged members not to relent in nurturing the souls won during the crusade. According to the representative of the spiritual leader, the successful establishment of the church in Abakaliki signifies that light has been planted in the city. He urged members to continue spreading the gospel and strengthening the new converts, warning against allowing the efforts of the outreach to be undermined.
All that believe, as we begin to go out with our lights to our various areas, as we speak to them the word of God, many will believe. We are not telling them stories, how Nigeria was formed or how the whole world was formed. No, you tell them the word of God, that is light. As they hear it, the Holy Spirit will minister that word you have spoken to them, and they will come and serve God for the salvation of their soul. God has made us to be light, and we are carriers of light. And therefore, We need to go out.
As part of the event, the National Youth President, Deacon Osama Uwagwe, formally presented the documents and particulars of the newly established church building to Apostle Peter Agemome, representing the spiritual leader. In a related development, a group of apostles and other ministers joined the spiritual leader, Senior Apostle Dr. David Unuefe, at his Benin City residence to celebrate his 2026th birthday anniversary. The occasion was marked with the cutting of a birthday cake amid joy, thanksgiving and fellowship among church leaders and members. Semidame Osage, ITV News.
The life and enduring legacy of the late Professor Lucy Amadi Osemota Nee Ogbede was celebrated on Sunday in Benin City as family, friends, former students, and well-wishers gathered at Gloria Garden Event Center for her 80th posthumous birthday. Joy Obarsiabo reports that the atmosphere was filled with emotion, reflection, and gratitude as attendees honored a woman widely described as selfless, impactful, and deeply committed to education and humanity.
Late Professor Lucy Amadi Osemota, who passed away in October 2023, was remembered as a compassionate mother and a dedicated academia whose influence extended beyond the classroom. Many of her former students, now professionals, testified to the lasting imprint she left on their lives and careers.
You began my Sunday school teacher. You became my mother, a mentor, a prayer warrior.
In a solemn tribute, the vicar of Our Saviour's Anglican Church, Owegbeni, Benin City, Reverend Father Charles Imariagbe, described the professor as a woman who lived a life of faith and purpose, urging others to embrace Christ and emulate her exemplary Christian values.
The best in life is to live well like our mother did.
Emotional tribute also came from her children, who recounted cherished memories of their late mother, describing her as a loving educator, mentor, and guiding light. Other guests echoed similar sentiments, calling her a mother to all and a pillar of support who positively shaped many lives.
She inspired her children, students, and all lives she touched to strive for excellence in all their endeavors.
She's an enabler, positive one.
She's fierce, she's bold. I wish she was here.
After 3 years, people are still celebrating my mom. I want to say thank you so much for coming to honor my mom.
The event also featured the presentation of awards in honor of the late Alfred Ige Ogbede. Notably, 20 medical students of the College of Medicine at Bronsali University, Ekboma, received stethoscopes as part of the Educational Support Initiative. The celebration climaxed with prayers for the family, followed by the cutting of the 80th posthumous birthday cake amidst cheers, marking a heartfelt tribute to a life that continues to inspire even in death.
Oh, the Holy Spirit.
From Benin, Joy Obaisiagbon, ITV News.
And that ends the news at this time. Thank you so much for watching. I am Nuluwakbo Stevens. Coming up next is TMI Socials.
ITV, certainly the best.
morning. This is CMI Socials, and need I say a happy Father's Day as we had the celebration during yesterday. Welcome on board. I am Nwoluwapo Stevens. Or better still, call me a social media butterfly. Now, our video for today is a church that has now gone viral after organizing a tug of war between fathers and mothers on Father's Day. Take a look. Now that's a clear case of what a man can do, a woman can do better, and perhaps women are stronger than the men if you ask me. Anyway, our first story for today would be information coming out from Ekiti State, where they had their election done over the weekend, as Ekiti State Governor Biodu Oyebanji has dismissed critics and opposition figures following his re-election, insisting that electoral victories are determined at polling units and not on social media platforms. Now, speaking on a video shared on its X handle on Sunday, Oyebanji said his victory reflected the will of voters, arguing that those who had performed well in office would naturally earn the people's support. And we had a video circulating all over social media during the course of the election, where we had the APC chairman of Edo State also, playing parts in the election right there in Ekiti State. Well, let's listen to the governor's speech after his victory and move over to another viral video that went on during the course of the election.
There's a saying that a farmer who has diligently tilled the ground do nothing to fear the day of harvest. Characters that have not done anything, they are busy on the social media, there are no polling units on the social media. And yesterday, and I told Sharon that I will not appear on your program, I will speak yesterday and we have spoken. And that's my answer to all the shenanigans on social media. So if you have done well, people will vote for you. But if you don't have anything to say other than to be going to media houses to grant interviews, telling lies against the government, still on the social media, we're beefing up sentiments. Yesterday was their day of reckoning. So I don't expect them to accept the result, and I don't expect them to.
There are no polling units on social media, and during the course of the election, we had allegations of vote buying from both the ruling party and opposition parties as well. Reacting to this, how did you take this online? Let's see tweet in reaction with this user who wrote, many of these social media attackers may be keyboard warriors, don't have PVC, and many of them are emotional, delusional set of people who lack critical thinking and rational reasoning. They believe that governance is based on emotions, but unbeknownst to them, governance lies in pragmatism. Okay, whatever that means. Now, another user says, but they spend a lot trying to own the same social media. Who is deceiving who? Good question. Well, still on this bit, this user wrote, I keep telling people in my area, if you want your preferred leader to win, go and vote and stop saying online and saying he go win. Now, finally, this user says on X, most people on social media don't even have voters' cards, but they are the loudest to complain about bad governance. Now, away from that, we'll go over to Oyo State, where hashtag Sunday Igboho has been trending online, and here is why. As confusion has emerged over the fate of victims abducted in Igbope Orelokpe, local government area of Oyo State, after both the local council chairman and the Oyo State Police Command dismissed reports suggesting suggesting that the captives had been freed. Now, the claims followed a video circulating on social media on Saturday showing large crowds of residents singing and dancing with Yoruba Nation activist Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Sunday Igboho. Now, the jubilation was described as a celebration of the release of the victims, a woman and her children and siblings, but they actually are yet to be released following the issuance of a 2-hour ultimatum. Now, basically what this means is we had a report circulating online that the person you can see on the screen, Sunday Igboho, actually rescued victims who were kidnapped after given 2-hour ultimatum. But then again, the police in Oyo State came out to debunk the news. Well, let's look at the video that circulated over the weekend regarding the story. Now, a video of Sunday Igboho combing the forest in Oyo State. Reacting to this, let's see what you have been saying. This user wrote, reacting to the first claim on social media, how did they receive the ultimatum? Interesting question. Now, another user reacting says, those people he warned should be arrested and questioned. They will do it again. They just need to regain their balance and replan. Another user still reacting to this story wrote, so what's stopping him from giving same ultimatum to teachers and their students? After all, Ogbomoso is part of Oyo State, which is his territory. Well, finally, this user says on Instagram, is that, oh, okay, this one says, okay, be nice. Okay, nice. What about the teachers and kids from Owerri local government area? Really sad. To let you know that it has actually entered the 37 days of being captivity right there in Owerri side one. But away from that, Asari Dokubo has something interesting for Edo State. As a video circulating online where Asari Dokubo names Edo State next front for Ijaw rights advocacy. Now, during the 2026 Ijaw Youth Manifesto event in Degema River State, the Ijaw leader and traditional ruler urged action for Ijaw communities in Edo's riverine areas like Ovia Southwest and Ovia Southeast. Take a listen to him.
Our next battleground is Edo State. Our next battleground is Edo State. This organization was not formed for pleasure, was not formed for this sort of thing. We did not form this organization for these fine things. We were going to Arugbo for 3 days and eating raw corn, cassava, everything at Belobu. We ate everything, ripe and unripe, cooked and uncooked. All the water in Belobu, in the well, everything we drank all. We cannot allow the Jaws in Edo State to continue in the condition that they are. Go and tell them we cannot continue to allow the Jaws to continue in the condition they are. Because government drew a line and said this is Delta, this is Ondo.
Now, reacting to this online, let's see what netizens have been saying to this interesting video. Let's see, with this first reaction that says, we must move away from tribal and ethnic identity politics that only drive a wedge between the poor, allowing politicians to loot our collective wealth. Instead, we need a Nigeria that works for everyone, regardless of tribe or religion. Another user reacting to this viral video says, a nation where opportunistic oppressors are the ones jestingly speaking and fighting for the oppressed. A day will come when all these shenanigans will reach its climax and sanity will take its firm root. Well, finally, this user says regarding the story, were they suffering before, and if they came to work, should they work? No, nobody is stopping them. But if it's the dividend of the state government, it belongs to the Edos and not Ijos. Go to your state and enjoy yours. Alrighty, we're expecting a feedback from, or a response from the Edo state government regarding this interesting story. Now, we move over to Anambra State, where Anambra State Governor Dr. Charles Chukwuma Soludo has warned real estate agents in the state who extort tenants after collecting the legally stipulated 10% of yearly rent. Now, he gave this warning while addressing residents, where he said that he had received reports that some agents demand additional charges from tenants even after they have paid their house rent. Take a listen to him.
I will tell you what the law gets. The law about rents and tenancy in Anambra.
Indie agent. I think I need an Igbo translator to help me out on whatever he said there. But moving over to tweets and reactions, let's see what you have been saying. With this user who wrote on X, if we could have two tweets to this story. This one says, this is a welcome development. Most agents in Nigeria has crippled a lot of households financially. They end up not being able to save financially every year. They aren't different from Yahoo boys. Shalom. Another user reacting to this says, what about the landlords that will just increase rent with over 100%? What about those warned? Well, good question. I think it's not only affecting Anambra State, also in Lagos as well, Edo, in different parts of the country. We're looking forward to the federal government doing the needful regarding that. Now, that's my bit this morning on TMI Socials. Thank you so much for being part of the show. I am Anuoluwapo Stevens. And from all of us on This Morning on ITV, please stay safe. We'll see you again tomorrow. Goodbye.
This is ITV.
Certain.